We move over to the AFC, last place finisher there, the New England Patriots. Sometimes, Albert, a team tells you what they're trying to do in the draft in free agency by what they don't do. They tried to get Ronnie Stanley. They tried to get Dan Moore, both a swing and a miss. So one would assume that they need an offensive tackle. They tried to get Chris Godwin, which was a swing and a miss. So one would assume that they also need a wide receiver. This team needs a lot of things, but I would guess those are priorities 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think that's right. And like I would say they're not in a position to pass up a blue chip player. So
No.
If Hunter or Carter falls to them, they're in an interesting spot because Hunter or Carter, if they one of those guys somehow
Number 4,
falls
by
to
the
them,
way. Yep.
you just take them, right? Like
Right.
you just take them. If not, then it's like, okay, like now, like the cliff in this year's class happens that early. You're maybe looking at like 10, 12 players that the league, like consensus, probably has graded similarly. And we're going through guys like Tyler Warren, Ashton Genty, Will Campbell, Armand Membu. Maybe you have Jedi Barron and Will Johnson in that group, Mason Graham, Jalen Walker. Like, so you're talking about having this like huge clump of players. And are they close enough where you just say, we're going to take care of Drake May here and we're going to take Campbell or Membu? Or do you view, say, like Jalen Walker as having a higher ceiling than the rest of them? So you just say, we don't have enough blue chip players. That guy's a red chip player. Let's take let's take a chance with the guy who's got blue chip ability. I think that's the interesting thing here is like weighing need against like, we just don't have enough great players in the roster and we need to go get one.
I'd be fascinated if Travis Hunter just started to fall just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he gets into the lap of the New England Patriots who have Mac Hollins and Stephon Diggs. I mean, that's kind of your receiving core right now, which is it's not bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not befitting of what you'd want. And they did a lot of work this offseason. I mean, you could say that defensive interior, but even Christian Barmore is probably your weak link on that line, but has had really good seasons in the past. And so, and same with someone like Kyle Duggar in the back end of the secondary, or Jabril Peppers, who's 30, which is hard to believe. But these guys have played well. Mike Vrabel, I think, will know how to use them, or at least how to instruct somebody to use them. And you maybe can project a little bit of a bounce back there. And you have Morgan Moses on the offensive line, who's a bit of a hold the fort guy for you. That said, left tackle is still just wide open. I have a hard time believing they're going to pass it up. But imagine if Travis Hunter just starts falling just a little bit.
He's there. Right? So this is what I love about Hunter, though. If he's there, dude,
you just figure it out.
Just start him on offense. You know what I mean? Like you have Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis on a corner, so you're good there. Just year one, say, okay, dude, like, the comp for him is Stephon Diggs or Devontae Smith or Garrett Wilson. We're going to turn you into that in year one, and we'll work you in on defense where we need you, but we're going to start you off on offense. Like that to me is like such the beauty of Travis Hunter is like you can sort of like get his career started on either side of the ball. You can kind of pick what you need more. And in the Patriots case, they would definitely need him on offense more than defense.
The New York Jets, Aaron Glenn, it's a different era, or so they say.
Yep.
And the team actually lost a sneaky amount of talent. Now, they had a lot at different positions, but
I keep like going back to like, I said this on on my mailbag, the video that'll go up I think it's already up. They're interesting because I think they're different. Like the Patriots and Jaguars, I just said about those two teams, they just need to get good players.
Yeah.
I don't know that I really feel that way about the Jets. Like
it's not as pressing, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Jets like can actually legitimately go for need here where they've got Garrett Will, like the young players in their roster. I mean, like just take the logo off the helmet and tell me what you think of this young core. Garrett Wilson, Olu Fashanu, Breece Hall, Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner. Like, what do you like? I don't know. Quincy Williams. I mean,
Joe Tippmann had,
I mean, Sherwood. Like, I just, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
I know. Like, that's why, it was a disaster last year. Yeah. Yeah. It was a
Oh,
disaster
Tyler
last year.
Warren. Tyler Warren here.
You think so?
I love the idea of it. Don't you?
Right? I mean, your tight end right now is who? Stone
It's Jeremy
Smart?
Ruckert.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what else you should do? And this is, I mean, not that I don't know if anyone would do it, but you trade Brees Hall, you get a couple extra mid-round picks, like maybe like you get like an extra fourth round pick or
And you
something like that.
ride with Braylon Allen. It'd be hard to trade a running back though, with as good as the running back
That's
draft
true.
class.
It's a very rich class, which is a
Yeah.
good point. I
I kind
think
of like Braylon Allen though.
I do too. My only thought, like just taking a quick look at the roster, is like, oh boy, like you need a right tackle.
Yep.
And this they're situated almost perfectly to get a quality right tackle. I mean, I think that this is one of those, like you
Or
said,
this
they
could be
could
Membu, is what you're saying.
right. Like I think that this could go in a lot of different directions, but in terms of you're a GM in your first year, you're young, you want to walk out of there and just be like, got it.
Yeah.
I think that that's probably as much of a tap in
Yeah.
as you could imagine. Now, that said, offensive line is not the automatic thing that we all project it to be, and it's actually just as complicated and there's as big of a swing and miss rate as there is at other
Yeah.
positions.
And it didn't
But
used to be that way,
and it
which
did,
is
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
It used to be the safest thing you could do was take a
right,
tackle in the first 10 picks of the draft. And it's not that way anymore.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I think right tackle makes a lot of sense here. I also would imagine, and I'm sure you agree with me here, there's no doubt in my mind they're adding like a day 2 or a day 3 quarterback, right?
Yeah. 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 I think that's fair. I don't think it'll be round one, but I think like Riley Leonard or Will Howard or someone like that, I could certainly see something like that.
The Dolphins of Miami. Lot going on there. We're talking a day after another house call from the Miami police to Tyreek Hill's house. That relationship already not seeming to be in a great spot. To say that this team has needs is an understatement.
Yep.
And I think that, everyone's talking about the coach and the GM being in trouble. I don't know how it's not just the GM. Like, how would you not want to get another guy to take a look at this personnel and work with the
Yeah.
guy who fixed Tua
I
Tagovailoa?
think
And
I think Mike McDaniel has done a really good job.
I do too.
Like I don't view it as like Mike being a big problem. The defensive coordinator thing was a little tough, but now he's got Anthony Weaver in there, who I think
Had a
did a
good
really
year
nice
last
job
year.
last
Yeah.
year. I mean, you could argue the year before part of the problem was that Vic didn't really want to be there.
Right.
And Vic was Mike McDaniel's first choice because of how the Shanahan tree, how they all look at Vic Fangio, right? And so the opportunity to get Vic was too great to pass up on. But ultimately, I think Vic wanted to be in Philly from the start, and the timing just didn't work, and so that was awkward. But outside of that, I think it's tough to criticize Mike McDaniel for where he's at. If I'm ownership right now, I would give Mike McDaniel and maybe Chris Greer too. I don't know. The green light to start retooling the roster and trade Tyreek Hill. And I look at it like they've gotten old in some key spots. I think the Teron Armstead thing kind of highlighted it, where he retires now and they're relying on a second round pick from last year to be their left tackle.
Patrick Paul.
Yeah, Patrick Paul out of the University of Houston. They've got a good young receiver who's capable of being a number one, and Jalen Waddle already there. I don't know. I mean, like I look at the older players of the roster, right? Like your Jalen Ramsey's, your Bradley Chubbs, and it's like I still think Tyreek Hill is probably the one that brings back the greatest return.
Especially
depending on how the case goes.
This is a down receiver class. It's
Yeah.
a down receiver class. He is a immediate difference maker and a massive question mark as a human being, right?
Right.
At this point in time,
Yeah.
and possibly a liability in that
For
sense
sure.
too.
And I think like not having clarity on that would affect your ability to trade him, obviously. So,
Right.
But I mean, I think it's something you have to look at because I think this is one of those like I think I've always had my like you got to look in the mirror teams, right? And I think this is one of those you got to look in the mirror teams if you're them, where it's like we have to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves. Are we going to win a championship with this core? And if the answer is no, well, then I think it's time to start retooling. And I don't see how this iteration of the Dolphins elevates to a championship level.
Buffalo Bills are the last team that we're doing today, and I was doing the power rankings the other day, and I looked at their offseason, and now some of their signings are facing suspensions, and they're not going to be there for the first part of the season. There's some stuff of that stuff to consider, but the way that they attack the middle class of free agency, just to add quality depth to that roster, and then you get guys like Ty Warren back, and you're doing the hard work on your roster. I think this is like one of the most complete teams in the NFL.
Yep.
Like if you were the NFL and you were like, okay, 5 teams aren't allowed to draft this year because they're good enough at every position, I think the Bills are one of those teams.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see like the way some of their young players, like guys like Cole Bishop. I'm looking at the depth chart now. Do you get a little bit more out of AJ Epinesa, who's got a ton to play for? With Joey Bosa coming in, and then offensively, what do you get out of Keon Coleman? What is Dalton Kincaid going to be this year? It's just they've gone from being an aging team to having a team with a lot of guys that are on the rise, and I don't think they have to really force anything. They're like we talked about that with Baltimore. Like Buffalo's in that same spot, right? Like I don't think there's anything they really have to force when you look at the state of their roster. I would be interested to see if like a veteran shakes free, like a high-end veteran shakes free, if they'd be in the running. Because I know earlier in the offseason, they made calls, and this isn't, Brandon Beane calls everybody, so I don't want to make too big a deal out of this, but they made calls on Myles Garrett and Max Crosby. And they wind up with Bosa, right? Like, but that tells me they've got like a willingness to stay flexible and loose if something happens with another team and some sort of opportunity comes along with a veteran player. So I wouldn't rule that out either.
I think more than any other team, and again, I've loved this offseason. Like Josh Palmer, I think was one of my favorite
I really like that
signings. I thought that was great. Khalil Shakir, getting him for what they got him at on the extension. Same with Greg Rousseau, who are ascending players.
Signing based on what that market is.
The finances on that were outstanding. But to me, I do
James
wonder.
Cook's going to be interesting, but
right.
That was the one piece of business they wanted to get done that they weren't able to get done. But the rest of it, even Christian Benford, like for the price was, and that guy's a really good pro. I think all these guys sort of represent what they want in players too, which is great.
The Bills have seen up close more than any other team in the NFL the dividing line between where they currently are and where they need to be. And so I think your point on the edge rushing and the interior pass rush are valid. You saw the Eagles up front, not necessarily the Eagles. You were you were in the other conference, but you're studying all this and you're seeing what it takes to win, and you're seeing what needs to be done. And it's just a glut of talent. It's a talent overload, and it's every guy being better than every other guy on the other side. And so I agree with you. I don't think they're done. I wonder if they're exploring, more pass rushing, something, because they have to differentiate, right? As good as this roster is and as far as it's come, it needs to get pushed over the edge. And they've tried that, right? With Bosa, they're trying it with Bosa now. They tried it with Von Miller, and I respect the fact that they keep trying. It's just like this rock that's going up a hill, and eventually I feel like it's going to get there because this roster is too good. But the window is now. It's now.
And I don't know who knows, is there somebody in the 22 draft class that all of a sudden is available that you didn't think was going to be available, like a Chris Olave or someone like that, like where there's been a staff change, I think like just staying loose for an opportunity like that is a good place to be. And that's where the Bills are right now. And, I think the state of their roster, especially after like they purged all those veterans like last year, is, just a good sign of how they're one of the 3 or 4 most well-run organizations in the league.